Welcome to the Coach's Corner. We are here at the Tivoli Tap House where they have great food and, of course, great beer. I'm Catherine Neitenbach, and I'm here with Connor Dockery. Connor, our basketball teams had an impressive performance this past weekend, didn't they?
Well, the men's team had a heartbreaking loss against CSU Pueblo. We'll get to that a little bit, or excuse me, New Mexico Highlands. We'll get to that a little bit later. But how about the women's team outscoring both of their opponents?
Super impressive performance from them.
Combined,
both of the games.
Combined to 71 points. But they outscored the opponents this weekend. So it was a pretty good weekend for the women's basketball teams. It was a lot of fun.
Definitely. So who do we have coming on today's show?
So speaking of basketball, we're going to have head coach Tanya Haave of the women's basketball team joining us first. She'll talk about this weekend, which included some record-breaking performances. Then we'll hit the track with Coach Janis Christopher. Their season is off and running, pun intended. And then we'll keep the track and field talk going with superstar Michael Dike, who is quite the athlete when it comes to that 400-meter dash. So we'll get to know him a little bit.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great show. But before we bring on our first guest, we want to catch you up on what happened this past weekend in Roadrunners sports. Let's head back to Friday night. In fourth place, CSU Pueblo came to the Mile High City. The Thunderwolves knocked down the first 6 points, but it was all MSU Denver after that. 10 different players scored, which included a career-high 12 points from Michaela Gonzalez. If the 31-point win wasn't enough, senior guard Jalen Smith stole the show, passing Jasmine Cervantes for the most career assists in women's basketball history. A great victory to get them back into the win column.
Could the men also find that W after a tough road trip last weekend? They also welcomed in the Thunderwolves. CSU Pueblo racked up 16 offensive rebounds in the first half, and they went into halftime with a 2-point lead over MSU Denver. But then the offense came alive for the home team as 3 different Roadrunners tallied double figures in scoring, while Jaron Taylor went 3 for 3 for 8 points coming off the bench. Coach Ball Squad snags the 71-64 victory.
We saw more records fall on Saturday night as the women's team hosted New Mexico Highlands. Senior forward Jonathan Whitworth knocked down an astonishing 11 three-point shots to not only break the Roadrunner record, but also the conference record for three-pointers made in a game. After going 3 for 6 in the first half, the Wisconsin native went 8 for 8 in the second half on her way to career-high 33 points. The team as a whole broke the program record for makes in a game with 17. It was a night Johnny and her teammates won't soon forget. Oh yeah, MSU Denver throttled Highlands by 40 points.
The men found themselves in a battle against the Cowboys on Saturday night. 40 minutes of basketball just wasn't enough for these two squads, as not one but 2 overtimes were needed to decide the outcome of this one. Drew Sasa scored a team-high 23 points, while Demetrius Jackson recorded a season-high 13 points in the game. But the Highlands hit some key baskets late, and they steal away the 2-point victory over the Roadrunners.
And finally, our outdoor track and field team was back in action this past Sunday. They took part in the Chadron State Invite, and numerous Roadrunners made their mark in Nebraska. Erica Ruiz and Alden Grudel finished 1 and 2 in the women's 3,000 meters. Ruiz hit an indoor personal best time, while Brittany Kochman also reached a PR time, finishing 6th. Sam Berg and Jacob Link were superstars on Sunday. Berg finished 2nd in the mile, while Link crossed the line in the 5th spot in the 3,000 meters. You can find the rest of the results at roadrunnersathletics.com. We now are going to welcome on Coach Tanya Haave, the head coach of our women's basketball team. Coach, thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, as always.
Absolutely.
So after a tough time you had 2 weekends ago, your team came back with 2 impressive wins this weekend. Was it a big sigh of relief, or were you pretty confident that you guys were going to bring it back in later games?
Well, it was nice that we were at home for sure. It was, you never know. We had a great week of practice. You know, I felt like we should have split on the road last weekend, but again, I'm preaching to my players, stay in the present. So moving forward, 2 huge wins. We definitely needed to get both these victories. And so starting off with the tougher team in Pueblo, you know, they were tied for 3rd, I believe, when going in. It was important that we played well, and boy, collectively we put together the best game that we have all year with everybody contributing. I think everybody scored, everybody got a rebound. So it was really nice to see that we just didn't beat them. We beat them handily. So it was really fun to see, and fun to see the players having so much fun.
Yeah, we love to see it too.
So let's get to that CSU Pueblo game on Friday night. The Thunderwolves came in as the 4th seed team in the RMAC, and they actually scored the first 6 points of the game. But after that, your squad just took control and beat this team by 31 points. Did you have a Braveheart type speech before the game, or did all the scouting and preparation just fall into place?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, I feel like we do a good job preparing a team in terms of what they're going to do. We rarely get surprised. However, I think what we were lacking maybe on the road was a little bit of that extra heart, or playing for each other, a little bit of extra energy, a little bit of extra passion. So we talked about playing for each other, having that enthusiasm and passion, and our players did a fantastic job with that. And so everybody on the bench and those playing on the floor really were able to implement that along with the game plan. So a little bit of both, to answer your question.
All right, so 10 different players scored in this game, as you said before. We saw kind of the same the next day. Can you talk to us about seeing more than Emily and Jalen contributing? Because it was really a total team effort in these games.
It was, and it's going to make it so much easier if everybody is a threat. So not everybody has to score double figures. Like Jay and Emily have emerged as our scorers, so to speak. But we need 6 points, 7 points. So if you looked at our box score from Friday night, it was 12, 12, 16, 9, 7, 6, 6, 8, 2, 4. Everybody's scoring. That's hard to beat when you're going to score like that. So we've emphasized a lot of being a threat offensively. It doesn't mean you'll score, but at least take a look at the basket and be a threat. Make someone guard you. You know, Pat Summitt used to say, I'll pull out a whole Pat Summitt-ism, is entertain the defense when you're not, entertain your defense. She used to say that to us all the time.
Well, they put on quite the show.
Yeah, it was great. It was so fun to see.
It really was.
And adding to that show, we saw some MSU Denver history go down in that Friday night game. Senior guard Jalen Smith broke the assists record, all-time career assists for the Roadrunners in that game with 463 assists, passing Jasmine Cervantes' record. We asked Jay about it, and she was very humble after the game and quick with her answer. But what does this record say about Jay, and what does it mean for this program?
How great Jay is, and what a great point guard. I mean, in terms of point guards, you're judged by assists and turnovers a lot, but she's been able to do everything. She scores and she gets assists, and I'm sure her assist to turnover ratio is very, very good. I don't know that off the top of my head, but to get that many assists, the first thing that comes to my mind is how impactful that she's been for our program. I mean, we knew going in that she needed 9, and I knew she'd get it over the weekend. I just didn't know it'd be that night. It was nice for her to get it that night against that team. But she was very touched, very emotional in the locker room by getting that record, because she, Jazz coached her for 2 years. So she knows she broke her coach's record. And so Jazz kind of deadpanned with her after the game, via text, of course, just said, well, where are your triple doubles? Because Jazz ended up getting a bunch of triple doubles. She ended up, I don't know, had maybe 4 or 5, but she has the record, and she goes, so where are the triple doubles? That was so funny. It's typical Jazz, but it's great.
All right, so I have one more question about the Pueblo game. I want to ask about Michaela Gonzalez. She was really contributing, and she scored 12 points on Friday. She seems to be playing with a bit more energy than she was in the beginning of the season. She's really grabbing those loose balls and trying to get those rebounds. Have you feel like she's ramping up the game as of lately?
She really has picked that up in terms of she's always been pretty good defensively and rebounding, but she has picked it up in terms of, and that has been a response of, we need you to be a leader. We need you to be have an impact. It may not be on the scoring side, but it could be defending, rebounding. So she had 10 rebounds a couple weekends ago and doing really great things there. And now we add that scoring piece and a threat. Maybe she won't score 12 every night, but at least she's a threat. So it was, again, really nice to see that contribution from her as well.
Definitely.
Now moving on to that Highlands game on Saturday night. The Cowgirls came out flying, outscoring your team 19-8 after the first frame, but then it was all Roadrunners after that. You guys took a 3-point lead at halftime and then ended up winning by 40 points. Did you have much to say after that first quarter, or did your team just realize that a loss to a struggling team like Highlands might have put a big hamper on the rest of your season?
Yeah, I think after a game as well as we played on Friday night, I told myself I had to manage my expectations. So I was trying not to expect too much. I thought there could be a little bit of a letdown. Highlands had won the night before in Chadron. I didn't think it'd be 19-8 after the first quarter, but it was. And so we just talked about, hey, we've got to pick up the tempo defensively, and we've got to not be. We were sitting a little bit too much playing not to lose in that zone, or weren't really ready. So we needed to pick up our intensity. So we were able to get that back. You know, they only scored 5 points in that second quarter, and I feel like for that we were able to get our tempo. I feel like they struggled with the tempo in that second half. Coming out in the second half, you could tell that tempo, they weren't going to be able to keep up with that. I mean, so they had their run in that first quarter, and then you didn't know it at the time, but then by the second half, we just kept the tempo, and they just weren't able. I felt like they weren't going to be able to keep up with that tempo, at that tempo that we wanted to set.
So I get to talk about the three-pointers. Yeah. You guys scored 17 of them in this game, which is crazy.
Yes. Yes. 51 points out of 81. Yeah.
Yeah. Did this come out of nowhere, or has the shooting just improved throughout the season, and you kind of saw this coming?
Well, I think our shooting's coming around. We do a lot of shooting in practice. Highlands played a zone, so it was conducive to shooting a bunch of three-pointers. So they played. I think they played one possession of man-to-man the whole night. So the zone was conducive to us shooting three-pointers. That was what was open. That was what we took, and that was what we made. You know, start with Johnny, 11 to 14, which is otherworldly, absolutely, and I've never seen anything like it. 9 in a row. So that actually tied a national record in Division II for three-pointers in a row, 9. So definitely record-setting night for Johnny, and it was nice to see for her, because at times I know she struggled because people keying on her. So it was so, for her, nice to see her be able to do that.
It was nice to see for us too.
Oh, I'm sure. I got a lot of comments. So much fun. But them, Highlands sitting back in the zone left that 3 open, because that's just the way that they have to play with their personnel. So they're going to beat you from the 3, and we took the challenge.
So did you know that she was coming close to that record when she kept knocking those down?
I knew. I mean, David was asking, and I knew. I was like, she's got to have a ton of three-pointers here, and she did. So then we found out, and it's like, wow, just impressive, just totally impressive. And just, you know, there's a couple times she took a shot and said, oh, it's going to the right. It's going to the right, and it was going in. And I'm like, that's when you know it's your night, Johnny, when I told her that. She goes, oh, it's off, and it was in.
Well, great job this weekend, Coach. It was really fun to watch, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend. Before we take our first break, we're going to bring you the tweet of the week. If you missed any of Jonalyn Whitworth's 11 three-pointers from her record-shattering performance on Saturday night, have no fear. Check out the Roadrunners All Access Twitter account and watch all 11 of her long balls. It was fun to watch it live, but now you can relive this historic moment forever. Time for that break. And we're coming right back, and we're going to talk with head track and field coach Janis Christopher. Up next on the Coach's Corner.
In the heart of the city, Metropolitan State University of Denver is holding the line on the American dream. Our students come from every background and experience. They are tenacious, purposeful, entrepreneurial. They choose the highest quality and best value in Colorado higher education, and they choose their own roads for more than 70 undergrad and graduate degrees. Relevant, hands-on, and affordable education. Discover your road to success at msudenver.edu.
Hi, I'm Jay Smith, senior guard from the women's basketball team.
How about that great assist by Jalen Smith off the seat of her pants?
And you're watching Coach's Corner. Get rowdy.
Welcome back. Before we talk with Coach Christopher right here, we want to tell you how you can enjoy some delicious Tivoli brews in can form. From their top-of-the-line Hellas brew to their traditional Brutiful IPA, you can now enjoy these beers from the can, and you can purchase those from select liquor stores. Visit TivoliBrewingCo.com for more information. So now we welcome in Janis Christopher, head track and field coach. Coach, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
So we heard that Wednesday is your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you want for your birthday?
Well, my mom took me to Las Vegas, and so that was fun. But no, besides that, just a good season, I guess.
That is an ultimate gift.
Yeah.
Did you get to go on the Strip? Was it a lot of fun?
We were on the Strip. We stayed downtown. It was fun, yeah.
Connor actually went there for his birthday, too.
Yeah.
When he turned 21.
I hope you didn't lose as much money gambling as I did.
I've been there enough times to know not to spend too much.
Yeah, that was my first time gambling there and didn't learn quick enough.
Doesn't take long, does it?
No.
So let's first talk about your meet from this past Sunday where your squad took part in the Chadron State Invitational. This was your first time in the meet in over a month. How did your squad prepare for this meet after having such a long layoff?
I mean, ultimately they were working on their own over the break, and so they weren't, just hopefully sitting on their couches. And what we saw that they actually did put a lot of work in over the break, and so a lot of it was just helping them know what to do while they were gone away from us for 6 weeks, and then coming back we started running a little bit faster than we have been. So a lot of the early season is a little bit slower and a lot of conditioning, and once we get closer to the season we've got to remember how to run fast. And so when we came back we started putting workouts together that helped them run faster.
There seemed to be a lot of solid performances in Chadron. We want to first talk about the women's 3,000 meters, of course. Erica Ruiz and Alden Grudel finished first and second respectively, and Brittany Kochman had a PR time. So it sounds like the 3,000 was a really good race for you at that meet.
It was really fun. I mean, the best part was watching them take the confidence that they gained in cross country and put it onto the track. And so when they went out there, there was no hesitation. If they needed to take the lead, they were ready to do that, and they had confidence that they were going to be able to hold that. And at one point, Erica took off, and my assistant coach Trent Mack, who's the head cross country coach, as you know, he said, I guess Erica wants to race today, and she did, and she just kept going and going and going. And at the end of the day, at the end of the race, she said, I think I could have done that for 2,000 more and kept that pace for 5,000 meters. And so I think that'll be the race that you see her really excel in. But it just was fun to see all those girls go out there and have the confidence to run with some of the best in the conference. Black Hills State is a very good team, and they were not afraid to take the lead and take control of that race. So yeah, it was a pretty great. Erica Ruiz actually set the meet record with that performance. So. It was a good day for them.
There we go. Our producer did not tell us that.
Yeah, he didn't know. See, I'm full of surprises.
To us.
Full of surprises.
Well, it sounds like it went really well for the women, but on the men's side, we saw some great races from Sam Berg and Jacob Linka, a couple of veterans that you're probably relying heavily on to make some big impacts this season. How are they looking at this point of the season?
They look great. It's similar to the women, a different level of confidence going out and racing and hungry. The men didn't, unfortunately, get the opportunity to compete at the national championships, and that's one of their goals going into the cross-country season next year. And they know that this lays a foundation. All of what we're doing now, even though it seems like a long way away, it's just another row of building blocks for them to build on. And so they're hungry to get better, and they're hungry to prove what they can do. They've got that little Roadrunner chip on their shoulder, and they want to prove that they can do it. And so that's how they're racing. They're racing with a ton of confidence and a ton of something to prove, you know. So they're aggressive, and they're really very, very fun to watch right now.
So there were some other solid performances at this meet as well. Sabrina Rauter and Ruben Gonzalez seemed to have some really solid performances.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Sabrina it was an interesting meet. There was no time schedule, and so you're not exactly sure when you're supposed to warm up and when you're not. And so Sabrina kind of missed her window a little bit with the warming up, but she still went out. We tell them all the time, you're going to face some adversity, and you've got to decide: are you going to let that hold you back, or are you going to just go and compete anyway? And she went out and she competed, and honestly, I didn't know that she had trouble warming up until after the race was over. She did a great job. The confidence that she showed, and Ruben really is coming along very, very nicely. So he raced 2 really good races. He did very well in the mile race, and then he came back and he raced that double, and it's not easy to do that. So he was able to really bring all those things together.
We're going to bring on Michael Dike with us next on the show. Can you talk to us a little bit about him and how you got to bring him from Toronto over here to downtown Denver?
Michael was one of the first people that I recruited when I became the recruiting coordinator a while ago. And so he, I feel very lucky to have him. He had a lot of other offers, you can ask him about it. But what he told me was the reason that he decided to come to MSU Denver was that we were very honest with him, and he knew that we were going to always tell him the truth, and that he could trust us. And so he came here understanding who we are, and just really wanted to make an impact, and he's doing that very, very much for us.
All right, so it's that time of the night where we do some Roadrunners trivia.
Okay.
So we always ask the coach a question about their specific program, and for every single question you get right, you get a point.
Okay.
Since it's your birthday coming up on Wednesday, we decided to give you a lot of opportunities for points.
Okay.
And here's the question. So, in women's indoor track and field, there have been 7 All-Americans. We're going to give you a point for each one that you can get. And since it's your birthday, we're going to tell you one of the people has multiple All-American nods.
There's 7 individuals.
Yes.
Brianna Hemming, Janelle Links, who's the relay? Ivana. No, not Ivana. Christabel Kuiper was on a relay. Christabel Kuiper. I think the other girls were before my time here, and I know what they look like because I was coaching at mine, but I cannot tell you their names.
Well, you got what? Ooh, who had multiple All-Americans?
Well, we had Sabrina Rauter this year. Oh, Brianna Hemming was. They were All-American in the relay, and then she was All-American in cross country. And she was also All-American in the indoor mile, and outdoor she was 15. I think she was 1500 meter All-American as well.
So that makes 5 points. That is very impressive amount of points. That's great. That's a great start, especially since it's your first time. So thank you for coming on the show, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We're going to keep up with the track and field with sophomore sprinter Michael Dike coming up next on Coach's Corner.
Enough. Yeah, I'm over it.
We shouldn't need commercials to tell you we're powerful.
No thanks. Genders don't play sports. Athletes do.
Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference is committed to sportsmanship.
We take pride in the conduct of our student athletes and coaches.
And ask that everyone, coaches, athletes, and spectators, treat opponents and officials with respect.
We encourage you to cheer for your favorite team.
Unruly, threatening, or obscene behavior will not be condoned.
Thank you for your cooperation and support.
I'm Erica Ruiz, a senior on the women's cross country team, and you're watching the Coach's Corner Get Rowdy.
Welcome back. Before we get to know Michael a little bit, we want to talk a little bit about how you can support MSU Denver athletics by picking up your Roadrunners gear at shopmsudenver.com. They have everything you can possibly want, from t-shirts, hats, tailgate equipment, mugs, water bottles, and much, much more. So when you come to the game, come ready to cheer in your red and blue gear. That's shopmsudenver.com. So now we say hello to Michael Dike, the sophomore sprinter from the track and field team. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So why not cross country? Is it a little bit too long of a race for you?
Basically anything past 400, I'm going to kind of have to pass. It's a little too tiring.
A little bit too long. Yeah. I get that.
Well, as long as you're good in those shorter races, that's all you need really right there.
Okay.
So you come all the way from Toronto, Canada. How did you end up going to school and running track down here in downtown Denver?
Well, basically, I was just looking for a new scenery. I'm originally from Toronto, but I grew up in Brampton. I'm not really sure if you guys are familiar with where that is, but it's like
where's that?
The equivalent to like Aurora of Denver.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I was like, you know, I kind of like a new scenery, so I reached out to Janis, and she wanted me back, and then we're here now.
So what kind of differences have you noticed so far between Toronto and Denver?
I think the biggest thing would be the mountains. I mean, I look out my window and I see mountains. I don't see that in Toronto, so yeah.
All right.
That can be a little bit of a shock sometimes, being a little bit walled off from everything.
Yeah, it's a pretty view, though. It's a pretty view.
It is a beautiful view. Good sunsets.
Yeah.
So what are you studying here at MSU Denver, and do you have a dream job once you graduate?
I'm doing marketing and finance right now. Dream job? Entrepreneur. I want to own my own business one day, yeah. Hopefully.
What kind of business?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right, guys, stay tuned. We'll bring him back once he gets his dream job.
So tell us how you got into running. Was it always track for you, or did you play any other sports in the meantime before sticking with track?
So originally, I was just following after my sisters. So my older sister, she did basketball and volleyball, and then I did those sports as well. And then so I kind of ventured off into track just because I noticed I was kind of faster than the rest of the people playing basketball.
So Jamal Murray is also from Canada. He plays for the Denver Nuggets. Are you a big Jamal Murray fan?
I am. I mean, I have to be, you know, just by default.
By default.
There we go.
There we go.
I approve. I approve.
And yeah.
I'm glad you approve, Connor.
There we go.
So last year you got the bronze medal at the RMAC Outdoor Track and Field Championships in the 400 meters. How excited were you once you realized that you finished in the top 3?
I mean, at first I was kind of winded, so I wasn't really sure. I was kind of sure I was in the top 5, but I wasn't sure I came 3rd. But after I got the 3rd place, I mean, seeing the bronze is kind of cool, so yeah, I was pretty excited.
How's it feel to hold the medal?
It's kind of heavy, so. I mean,
Bring it about her design. You gotta bring it next time. We want to see it.
If you invite me next time, I'll
yeah.
All right, yeah, please do. We want to see it.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. But your time at that meet earned you a spot in the NCAA Championships in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tell us what it was like to compete on that stage against those athletes who are the best of the best.
I would say for the most part, physically, I believed I was ready, but I think mentally I wasn't all there. So if I ever get the opportunity again, I would definitely be prepared.
So we know that you like competing in the 400 meters, as you said before, but are there any other events that you like to compete in, and do you have a different favorite than the 400 meters?
I mean, one day, hopefully, my coach will let me jump, but for the most part right now, I guess I'll just stick to the 4 to 60.
That'd be pretty fun to see, trying out jumping.
I mean, one day, we'll see.
So do you have a favorite between indoor and outdoor track and field?
Definitely outdoor, just because indoor kind of gets hard to breathe sometimes. The turns are usually a lot tighter. Outdoor, it's a little more, it's definitely a lot more easy to breathe, which is probably the most important part for me, doing a longer event. Yeah, definitely outdoor.
All right, and are you going to run this weekend in Golden?
Hopefully. I think we're trying to prepare, right now me and my coach are trying to prepare for Boulder, but if the opportunity comes and you see that working hard in practice, gold is definitely a possibility.
So what kind of goals do you have for yourself this upcoming both indoor and outdoor track season?
Definitely PB. Definitely want to get a personal best, and I want to break the 400-meter record. I think it's like from 1980 something. So yeah, I want to beat that for sure.
Well, if you put your mind to it, I'm sure you can break that record.
I agree.
Well, thank you for coming on, Michael,
Appreciate
and we
it.
wish you the best of luck in this track and field season.
Thank you.
Before we get out of here, let's tell you what's coming up this weekend in Roadrunner sports. The basketball teams are back at it this weekend. Once again, they'll be right here at home. The Colorado School of Mines will be coming to town on Friday. The women will tip off at 5:30, and the men are going to be going around at around 7:30. The School of Mines men's team is unbeaten at 11-0, so it's going to be a big game for Coach Ball's squad. On Saturday night, the Mountain Lions from UC Colorado Springs will come and try to take down our Roadrunners. So much is on the line with the season coming down to the final stretch. Those games will go at 5 and 7 p.m. So come on out and support the teams this weekend at the Auraria Events Center.
Michael and his indoor track and field teammates will head to Golden to compete in the Mines Division II Invitational. They'll compete on Friday and on Saturday, so visit roadrunnersathletics.com to find the schedule and see when the events will be taking place.
That will do it for this edition of the Coach's Corner. Remember that you can watch this show again tomorrow because we're going to put up the replay on our Twitter page at MSU Denver Sports. You can watch the show or catch up on some highlights, read some features, stories, or even look at some video links of our games. So click on that tab at MSU Denver Sports. We want to thank Coach Haave, Coach Christopher, and of course Michael for joining us on the show. For Connor Dockery, I'm Catherine Neitenbach, and we'll see you next time on the Coach's Corner with Con and Kat.